Opening. Have you ever noticed how money seems to awaken two powerful forces inside us? One is desire, that restless urge to hold on to more, to accumulate, to believe that the next purchase, the next investment, will finally bring us peace. The other is fear, the worry of losing what we have, of not having enough, of the unknown future that always feels a little too close. When we hold money in our hands, these two rivers, desire and fear, start to flow at once. And if we are not careful, they carry us away. We spend recklessly, or we hoard without joy. We make decisions not from wisdom, but from anxiety and impulse. But here's something most of us forget. Between those two rivers, there is always a third path. A path of stillness, clarity, and balance. And that path begins with something as simple as the breath. Take a moment with me now. Just one inhale. And one exhale. Notice what happens. The mind softens. The heart steadies. That constant chatter, the voice that says, "You must buy this now, or you'll lose everything tomorrow," suddenly grows quiet. This is the gift of meditation, of training the mind to return, again and again, to a place of focus. When we breathe with awareness, when we let the present moment hold us, our relationship with money shifts. It no longer controls us. It becomes a tool, nothing more, nothing less. Think about it. How many times have you made a financial decision in the heat of the moment, buying something because you were stressed, or investing out of panic, or refusing an opportunity because fear whispered, "What if?" Almost all of us have been there. The mind, when scattered, makes poor choices. But the mind, when centered, becomes like clear water. You can see to the bottom. You can see what truly matters. Meditation isn't about escaping life. It's about seeing it more clearly. And when you see clearly, even money, so often a source of stress, becomes part of your path of wisdom. Every choice you make, whether it's saving, spending, or giving, carries a different quality when it comes from stillness rather than chaos. So as we begin this journey together, I invite you to look at money not as the enemy, not as the answer, but as a mirror. A mirror that reflects the state of your mind. If your mind is restless, money becomes a burden. If your mind is calm, money becomes a blessing. The truth is, financial wisdom isn't hidden in books or formulas alone. It begins in the silence of your own breath. And from that silence, every decision becomes lighter, clearer, and closer to freedom. Part 1. Meditation and money, two faces of the same mind. Money is one of those things that can stir up so many emotions inside us. Some people see it as freedom, others see it as stress, and for many, it's both at the same time. But here's the truth, money itself is not good or bad. It's not noble or evil. It's neutral. What gives money its power is the mind that interacts with it. Think about it. In one person's hands, money becomes a tool for generosity, building communities, feeding families, supporting dreams. In another person's hands, that same dollar can fuel greed, control, or even harm. The money doesn't change. What changes is the heart that holds it. Meditation teaches us to see this clearly. When you sit in silence and watch your thoughts, you begin to notice how your mind clings to certain things, possessions, status, the idea of more. You also notice how fear creeps in, the fear of losing, the fear of not having enough, the fear of falling behind. And in that awareness, something powerful happens. You realize it's not the money itself that brings chaos or peace. It's the state of your own mind. Let me ask you, have you ever had a moment when you got a raise, or maybe a financial windfall, and instead of feeling secure, you actually felt more pressure? More anxiety about how to keep it, how to grow it, how to not lose it. On the flip side, have you ever had less money, but somehow felt more free, more alive, because your heart was lighter? These are reminders that money simply reflects the landscape of our inner world. When we practice meditation, we slowly train ourselves to see money for what it really is, a tool, a means, not the master of our lives. Just like a hammer can build a house or break a window, money can build peace or break trust. Meditation keeps us grounded enough to choose wisely how we use it. Here's a perspective that might feel fresh. What if every time you made a financial choice, you paused for just a breath? What if saving, spending, or giving wasn't just a transaction, but a reflection of your state of being? In that pause, you begin to see whether your action comes from fear, from greed, or from clarity and compassion. I remember speaking with a friend who was constantly stressed about money, even though, by most standards, he had plenty. After starting a simple meditation practice, just 10 minutes a day, he told me something profound. He said, "I realized that my anxiety wasn't about the numbers in my account. It was about the stories I was telling myself, that I was never enough, that I always needed more." Meditation helped me see those stories were illusions. And once I saw that, I began to use my money differently. That's the power of the mind. Meditation doesn't magically change the balance in your bank account. What it changes is your relationship to it. Suddenly, money is not a monster to fear or a treasure to obsess over. It becomes what it has always been, a neutral resource. And with clarity, you decide how to direct it, instead of letting it direct you. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by financial decisions, remember this: money is only showing you the face of your own mind. If your mind is restless, money will feel like a burden. If your mind is steady, money will feel like a tool. Meditation is the bridge that helps you shift from one to the other. Part 2. The breath, the anchor for financial clarity. Have you ever noticed how quickly we make financial decisions? Sometimes it's as fast as a swipe of a card, a click of a button, or a rushed signature. In those moments, we don't always stop to ask ourselves, why am I doing this? What is driving me right now, wisdom or impulse? This is where something as simple as the breath becomes powerful. The breath is not just oxygen moving in and out. It is a natural anchor, a reminder to pause, to come back to yourself before the wave of desire or fear carries you away. Imagine this: you're standing in a store, about to buy something expensive you hadn't planned for. Or maybe you're sitting at your laptop, ready to jump into an investment, because everyone else seems to be doing it. In that split second, your heart is racing, your mind is pushing you to act fast. But what if, instead of rushing, you stopped, and took one slow, conscious breath? Inhale. Exhale. That's it. Just one breath. It sounds almost too simple, but here's the truth: that one breath creates space. It gives you a moment to notice what's happening inside. Am I buying this out of fear of missing out? Am I investing because I believe in it, or just because I'm scared of being left behind? Am I spending because I truly need this, or because I'm trying to fill an emptiness I don't want to face? The breath doesn't give you the answer, but it clears the fog so the answer can emerge. I once read about a CEO who, before making any major financial decision, would close his eyes and take 3 slow breaths. His colleagues thought it was strange at first. But he explained, "When I breathe, I can see more clearly whether I'm making a decision from clarity or from panic. And panic is expensive." I think that's wisdom we can all carry with us. Breathing with awareness is not about delaying action forever. It's about creating just enough space between the impulse and the choice so that your action comes from a place of calm strength rather than restless reaction. Here's a question for you: what would your life look like if every time you spent, saved, or invested money, you first took a breath? How many mistakes would you avoid? How much regret would you release? And how much more confidence would you feel, knowing your decisions were rooted in clarity? The beauty of the breath is that it's always with you. You don't need a quiet room, a meditation cushion, or a long retreat. All you need is a moment of awareness. The breath is like a friend that whispers, "Slow down. Be here. See clearly." So the next time you face a financial decision, Whether it's small like buying a cup of coffee, or big like signing a contract, let the breath be your anchor. Inhale, exhale, and ask yourself, what is truly guiding me right now? Because when the mind is steady, decisions become wiser. And wisdom, in the end, is the best investment you will ever make. Part 3. Seeing the roots of desire and fear. Have you ever noticed how money seems to awaken very different emotions depending on whether we have it or not? When people lose money, fear rises quickly, the fear of not surviving, the fear of not being secure, the fear of falling behind. And when people gain money, desire grows just as quickly, the desire for more, the feeling that what we have is never enough, that we must keep chasing. It's almost like money is a mirror, reflecting back the raw roots of our human experience, desire and fear. And here's the tricky part, both of these, no matter how opposite they seem, come from the same root, attachment. Meditation helps us see this clearly. When we sit in silence, observing our thoughts, we start to notice how often our mind clings. Clings to comfort. Clings to control. Clings to the idea of mine. And every time it clings, anxiety is born. Think about it, when you attach too tightly to your possessions, even a small threat to them feels unbearable. When you attach too tightly to the idea of wealth, even when you have more than enough, you still feel poor inside. I remember a story about a man who won the lottery. Overnight, his life changed, millions in the bank, luxuries at his fingertips. But when journalists interviewed him years later, he said something surprising: "I thought money would free me. Instead, I became more anxious. I wasn't happy with what I bought, and I was terrified of losing it all." His fear and desire grew together. Money didn't create that, it only amplified what was already within. And maybe you've felt this on a smaller scale. Have you ever checked your bank account and felt that sinking feeling, like it defines your worth, your safety, your future? Or maybe you've made more money than ever before but found yourself lying awake at night, worrying about investments, taxes, or whether it would all slip away. That's attachment at work. The practice of meditation doesn't erase desire or fear overnight, but it gives you the wisdom to see their roots. You begin to recognize, oh, this fear I feel isn't just about money, it's about my clinging to security. This craving I feel isn't about the object, it's about my clinging to identity or status. When you see the root, the grip loosens. And here's the liberating truth: money itself is not the burden. The burden is the way we cling to it, the way we let it define us. Once you begin to release that grip, money returns to its proper place, as a tool. A simple means to support life, not the measure of life itself. So let me ask you, what would change in your life if you saw money only as a tool? If you let go of the story that having more makes you worthy, or that losing some makes you broken. Imagine the freedom of that. Imagine making financial decisions not from panic, not from endless craving, but from a steady, peaceful mind. Meditation gives us the space to step out of that endless tug-of-war between fear and desire. And in that space, clarity is born. With clarity, money no longer feels like a chain. It becomes just what it was always meant to be, a servant, not a master. Part 4, Living with Enough, the Key to Peace. What does it really mean to live a rich life? For many of us, we've been taught to believe that happiness lies in accumulation, more money, a bigger house, a newer car, the next upgrade. But if you pause and look closely, you'll see that the race for more never ends. The finish line keeps moving. And the truth is, you don't need as much as you think to be happy. There's a quiet wisdom in the word enough. To know when you have enough is to know peace. A person who understands enough is richer than the millionaire who always feels poor inside. Meditation helps us discover this balance. When you sit in silence and simply breathe, you realize how little you actually need in order to feel whole. A breath is enough. A quiet cup of tea can be enough. A meal shared with loved ones is enough. When you can see that clearly, the pressure to chase endlessly starts to loosen. I remember a friend who used to live with constant financial stress. She always wanted more clothes, more travel, more status. Her credit cards were maxed out, and she was constantly anxious. But when she began practicing mindfulness, something shifted. She started asking herself simple questions before spending. Do I truly need this? Will it bring me lasting peace, or just a moment's distraction? Over time, she realized she could live with less and feel more free. Today, she describes herself as lighter, not just financially, but emotionally. And maybe you've felt that too. Think about the last time you decluttered your closet, or let go of something you no longer needed. Didn't it feel freeing? That's the taste of enough. Here's the challenge we face in modern life. Everywhere we look, advertisements are telling us we are lacking. You're not complete unless you buy this. You won't be secure unless you own that. It's a machine designed to fuel dissatisfaction. But meditation gives us the power to step off that treadmill. It reminds us that joy is not in the next purchase, it's in the present moment. When you know enough, you also protect yourself from the traps of debt and waste. You don't spend beyond your means. You don't get caught in the anxiety of comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel. Instead, you find contentment in simplicity. And from that place, your financial decisions become more sustainable, more aligned with your true needs rather than fleeting desires. Let me ask you this. If you could feel complete right now, without needing one more thing, how would that change the way you use your money? How much energy and peace would you save by stepping out of the endless cycle of wanting more? The truth is, wealth is not measured by how much you own, but by how little you need to feel fulfilled. And the person who lives with enough walks with a quiet kind of freedom, the kind of freedom that no market crash, no job loss, no sudden change can take away. So the next time you feel that pull to buy more, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this enough? Am I enough? Because often, the richest life is not the one filled with things, but the one filled with peace. 5. Mindful consumption. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to buy something without even thinking? A quick click on an online store, a rush of excitement when the package arrives, and then, a week later, it sits unused on the shelf. We live in a culture where spending is almost automatic, but mindfulness invites us to pause and ask, is this purchase nourishing me, or is it quietly harming me? Mindful consumption is more than just financial wisdom. It is a form of meditation in daily life. Every dollar you spend carries energy. It is like planting a seed. Some seeds grow into joy, freedom, and health, while others grow into stress, debt, and dissatisfaction. The choice is always in our hands, yet most of the time we spend without awareness. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're at the store, holding two different items. One is something flashy, promising quick pleasure, but deep down you know it's unnecessary. The other is something simple but supportive, healthy food, a good book, or maybe a service that nurtures your well-being. In that moment, mindfulness allows you to pause, breathe, and see clearly, which seed am I planting with this purchase? This way of living doesn't mean you can never enjoy a treat, or buy something beautiful. It's not about strict rules or guilt. Instead, it's about shifting from impulsive spending to intentional living. You begin to notice how certain purchases truly enrich your life, while others only leave behind emptiness. Think about your last 3 purchases. Were they made out of clarity and care, or were they driven by stress, boredom, or the need to impress someone? This reflection alone can change the way you relate to money. When you start spending mindfully, you realize that each act of consumption shapes not only your financial health, but also your inner peace. In Buddhism, we say that every action plants a karmic seed. Money is no different. If you spend in ways that exploit, harm, or distract, you're planting seeds of suffering. But if you spend with compassion, mindfulness, and intention, you're watering the seeds of happiness for yourself and others. Imagine each dollar as a prayer, as a conscious choice that carries your values into the world. Personally, I've found that mindful spending brings a sense of lightness. When I ask myself before buying, does this nourish me or deplete me? Suddenly, the noise of advertising loses its grip. I feel freer, more grounded, and less controlled by impulses. And interestingly, the things I do choose to buy bring me greater joy, because they align with what I truly value. So here's a practice you can try this week. Before making any purchase, big or small, pause for 3 breaths. Ask yourself, is this an investment in my well-being or a debt to my future self? Let that question guide you. Over time, your relationship with money shifts from mindless spending to mindful living. Remember, every act of consumption is a silent vote for the kind of life you want to live. Spend in a way that reflects your deepest values, and your money will no longer be a burden. It will become a tool for freedom, clarity, and joy. 6. Pure accumulation. When we think about saving money, most of us picture a number in a bank account, a growing balance that gives us a sense of security. But let's pause and ask, why are we saving? Is it to show others how successful we are? Is it to prove our worth, or to gain power? Or is it to nurture peace, stability, and care for ourselves and the people we love? There is a huge difference between saving out of fear and saving out of wisdom. Fear-based saving feels tight, anxious, and never enough. No matter how much you put away, you worry it won't last. But saving rooted in mindfulness and compassion feels spacious. You see money not as a weapon or a trophy, but as a gentle resource, a way to create steadiness for your family, to support your community, and even to give back when the time is right. Imagine 2 people with the exact same savings. One guards their money with suspicion, worried that others will take it away. Their wealth becomes a wall, cutting them off from connection. The other holds their savings lightly, knowing it is there to protect, to provide, and to serve. Their wealth becomes a bridge, opening possibilities for generosity and peace. The numbers in the bank may be the same, but the energy is completely different. Think about your own relationship with savings. When you put aside money, does it bring you a sense of relief and balance? Or does it carry a whisper of fear? Fear of losing it, fear of not having enough, fear of falling behind. Mindfulness helps us see clearly. True security doesn't come from the size of the account, but from the spirit in which we save. I remember a friend who always said, "I'm saving for safety." But as his savings grew, so did his anxiety. He realized he wasn't actually saving for safety, he was saving for control, to silence an inner voice that kept saying, "You're not enough yet." It wasn't until he shifted his mindset, saving for peace, for family, for the ability to share, that his heart softened. Suddenly, his savings didn't feel like a prison. It felt like a garden, something alive that he could tend with love. This is what I mean by pure accumulation. It's not about the number. It's about intention. When savings come from compassion, you start to see money as a tool for stability, not a symbol of status. You might even notice that you need less than you thought. Instead of hoarding, you begin balancing, caring for your future without being chained by it, holding resources without clinging to them. So, let me ask you, what are you really saving for? If it's only to prove something or to compete, you will always feel insecure, because someone will always have more. But if you save to cultivate peace, for your family, your community, your own well-being, then every dollar becomes a seed of freedom. Pure accumulation is not born from fear, it is born from compassion and wisdom. And when you save this way, your money no longer weighs on your heart. Instead, it quietly supports you, like a calm river flowing steadily beneath your life, carrying you and those you love toward greater stability and joy. 7. Investing with wisdom. When most people think about investing, the first question is usually, how much return will I get, and how fast? But if we pause for a moment, we realize that true investing isn't just about numbers climbing on a screen. It's about planting seeds that will grow not only for us, but also for the world around us. A mind trained in meditation sees differently. Instead of chasing short-term profit, it steps back and asks bigger questions. What are the long-term effects of this investment? Does it nourish life, or does it quietly harm it? Does it support people and communities, or does it exploit them? Wisdom doesn't only calculate dollars, it considers impact. Think about this. You could put money into a company that promises quick gains, but if that company pollutes rivers, exploits workers, or thrives on human suffering, what kind of return is that, really? On the other hand, investing in something that grows clean energy, supports fair labor, or strengthens your local community may not double overnight, but it gives you something even more precious, peace of mind, and the knowledge that your money is aligned with your values. I once spoke with a man who had invested in sustainable farming projects. He told me, at first, my returns were slower than the stock market. But when I visited the farms, saw the workers thriving, and tasted the food that was grown without chemicals, I realized I was investing in life itself. That's the essence of wise investment. You're not just growing wealth, you're growing well-being. This doesn't mean you have to reject profit. Profit is important, it sustains you and allows you to keep giving. But when profit is guided by mindfulness, it becomes cleaner, freer of regret. You don't have to worry about hidden costs to the earth, or to people's lives, because you chose to invest with open eyes and an open heart. So here's a question worth sitting with. Would you rather make fast money that leaves harm in its wake, or steady money that leaves healing in its path? The answer may reshape not just your portfolio, but your entire relationship with wealth. Meditation trains us to look beyond the surface. When the market tempts us with glitter and noise, the mindful investor takes a breath and remembers, not everything that shines is gold, and not everything that grows is good. Wisdom teaches us to see the full picture, the ripple effects of our choices, extending far beyond our own lifetime. Investing with wisdom is not about being perfect. It's about being conscious. It's about asking, how can my money serve life, not just me? And when you begin to invest this way, something shifts. Your wealth doesn't just grow in numbers, it grows in meaning. In the end, wise investment is an act of compassion. It is a way of saying, I want my resources to build, not to destroy. I want my money to carry the same mindfulness I bring to my breath, my thoughts, my actions. And that kind of wealth, that kind lasts. 8. Letting go at the right time. Sometimes, losing money feels like a punch to the stomach. Maybe it was a bad investment, an unexpected expense, or a mistake you regret making. The first instinct is often to cling, to replay the loss over and over in your head, wishing you could turn back time. But here's the truth. Sometimes that loss isn't just a failure, it's tuition. It's the price you pay to grow wiser. Think of it like this. When a child falls while learning to walk, we don't call it a disaster. We call it practice. We understand that falling is part of the journey. Why can't we see money the same way? Losing some along the path doesn't mean we've failed forever. It means life is teaching us something we needed to learn. There's a Buddhist saying, when you let go, you don't lose. You gain space. And that space is what allows peace to return. When you grip the past too tightly, holding onto old financial mistakes, debts, or losses, you don't just carry numbers. You carry weight in your heart. That weight shows up as anxiety, as sleepless nights, as constant self-criticism. But when you release it, you realize, your real wealth is not the money that slipped away, it's the calm, clear mind that remains. I once met a woman who told me about losing a large sum of money in a failed business venture. She said, 4 months, I couldn't forgive myself. Every morning, I woke up angry. Then one day, I asked myself, what if this isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? That question changed everything. I stopped seeing it as failure, and started seeing it as training. She went on to build a more stable business, with stronger foundations, and she said the first failure was the reason she succeeded later. So ask yourself, what lesson is hidden in the loss I'm clinging to? What strength is it trying to give me? Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring about money. It means you stop letting money control your inner peace. You learn to say, yes, I lost that sum, but I refuse to lose my clarity, my compassion, my freedom. That shift is priceless. When you practice meditation, you start to see that everything in life is fluid: money, success, relationships. Nothing is permanent. The tighter you hold, the more it slips through your fingers. The softer your grip, the more freedom you feel. And here's the paradox: when you let go of past mistakes, you actually become a better decision maker. Your mind is no longer clouded by guilt or fear, so you can see opportunities more clearly. You're not chasing losses or acting out of desperation. You're grounded. And from that grounded place, you make wiser financial choices. In the end, the ability to let go is itself a form of wealth. It's a wealth that no market crash can take, no thief can steal, no circumstance can shake. It's the kind of wealth that lives inside you, a steady, unshakable peace. So the next time you find yourself clinging to money that's already gone, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, do I want to lose this money once, or 1,000 times in my mind? And then, when you're ready, let it go. Because the real treasure is not in what slipped away, it's in the lightness of heart you keep when you release it. 9. Sharing as liberation. Have you ever noticed that the tighter we cling to money, the more it seems to control us? We worry about losing it, we fear not having enough, and we measure our worth by the size of our bank accounts. But here's a paradox: the moment you share what you have, money loses its power over you. Giving is not just charity, it's freedom. Imagine money as water. If you hoard it in a jar, eventually it becomes stagnant, stale, even poisonous. But when you let it flow, when you pour some out to nourish others, it becomes fresh again. It circulates, it creates life. Sharing doesn't diminish your wealth, it keeps it alive. I once met a man who had built significant financial success. Yet he confessed to me that he felt trapped, always anxious, always calculating, always afraid of losing what he had. Then, after a natural disaster in his community, he decided to give a large sum to help rebuild homes. He said something unexpected happened. For the first time, I felt lighter. I realized my money wasn't just sitting in accounts, it was out there making life possible. In that moment, his relationship with money changed. He wasn't its prisoner anymore. This is the heart of Buddhist wisdom. True freedom comes not from grasping, but from letting go. When you share, even a small amount, you break the invisible chains that tie your happiness to your possessions. You discover that your worth is not measured by what you keep, but by the compassion you cultivate. Now, sharing doesn't always mean writing a big check. It can be as simple as buying a meal for someone who is struggling, supporting a local cause you believe in, or quietly helping a neighbor in need. What matters isn't the amount, it's the intention. Is your money being used as a tool for fear and control, or as a channel of love and connection? Here's a question worth sitting with: if I were to give away a part of my wealth, not because I have to, but because I choose to, what kind of freedom would that unlock in me? Through meditation, you begin to see that holding too tightly to money creates suffering, while letting it flow creates joy. And the beauty is, when you give, you often receive in ways you didn't expect. A sense of peace, deeper relationships, even a stronger sense of meaning. These are returns no market can guarantee. So the next time you feel the urge to cling to every dollar, pause. Ask yourself, what if a portion of this could become water, flowing into the dry soil of someone else's life? Because when you let money flow, you don't just help others, you liberate yourself. In the end, generosity is not about reducing what you have. It's about expanding who you are. It's the path to realizing that you are already rich, not because of what you hold, but because of what you give away. Part 10. Financial wisdom is mindful wisdom. In the end, all the lessons we've explored come back to one essential truth: mindfulness. Because without mindfulness, even the greatest wealth can become a burden. And with mindfulness, even simple means can feel like abundance. Think about it for a moment. How many times have we made a financial decision in haste, spending on something we didn't truly need, or investing because of fear of missing out, only to feel regret later? Those decisions weren't about money itself, they were about the state of mind we were in. When the mind is restless, clouded, or driven by desire, no amount of money will feel secure. But when the mind is calm, aware, and rooted in wisdom, even small steps with money can lead to peace. Mindfulness is like holding a mirror up to your financial life. It reflects back not just numbers, but your intentions, your fears, and your values. When you sit down to look at your budget, ask yourself, am I making this decision from clarity or confusion? From fear or from compassion? The answer will change the way you relate to money. I once spoke with a man who had been through both wealth and bankruptcy. He told me something profound. The times I had the most money were actually the times I was the least happy. I was obsessed with keeping it, growing it, and proving myself with it. But when I lost it all, I finally saw money for what it was, just a tool. And in losing it, I began to wake up. His story reminds us that wealth alone cannot free us. It is our relationship to wealth, guided by awareness, that determines whether it is a blessing or a chain. And this is where meditation enters. Meditation is not just about sitting quietly. It is about training the mind to see clearly. A mind that sees clearly will not be fooled by the glitter of unnecessary desires, nor will it be paralyzed by fear of loss. Instead, it will use money as it was meant to be used, to support life, to nurture growth, to bring relief to suffering, and to create freedom. Ask yourself, what if every financial choice I made was an act of love, not fear? Love for yourself, love for your family, love for the community you are part of. Imagine how differently you might save, spend, or share if every decision was guided by that question. At the heart of financial wisdom lies mindful wisdom. When the heart is awake, choices become lighter. When the mind is present, decisions become clearer. And when both heart and mind work together, money becomes not an enemy or a master, but simply a friend that helps you live with purpose. So remember, wealth without mindfulness can turn into chains, but even a modest income guided by awareness can lead to freedom. Meditation is that compass. It helps you stay steady in storms, grateful in abundance, and compassionate in every exchange. When your mind is awake, your financial life becomes more than numbers. It becomes a reflection of your deepest values. And that, perhaps, is the greatest wealth of all. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. What is the greatest wealth you truly possess? Is it the number in your bank account, the value of your house, or the things you've gathered over the years? Or is it something more subtle, something that cannot be stolen, inflated, or lost to time? True wealth, as the Buddha and countless sages remind us, does not sit in vaults or digital balances. It lives in the calmness of a peaceful mind, in the clarity of wisdom, and in the freedom of a heart that knows how to let go. Money can come and go in a single breath, through a crisis, a mistake, or a change in fortune. But the wisdom cultivated through meditation, and the compassion awakened in our hearts, those are treasures that no storm of life can ever wash away. I think of it like this: meditation is a kind of inner savings account, but one that never depletes. Every moment you spend returning to your breath, every time you choose awareness over distraction, you're depositing into a fund of peace and clarity. And unlike money, this kind of wealth only grows the more you share it. When you meet others with kindness, when you give without fear, when you use your financial decisions to reduce suffering instead of increase it, you are multiplying a form of abundance that goes beyond numbers. So yes, use money wisely. Save with care, spend with awareness, and share with generosity. But remember, these are not just financial strategies, they are spiritual practices. They are reflections of who you are when you are most awake. And when decisions about money become decisions about compassion and clarity, life takes on a lightness. Choices feel less like battles and more like offerings. Let me leave you with this thought. Someday, every coin you've earned, every possession you've acquired, will pass to other hands. That is the law of impermanence. But the wisdom you cultivate, the love you embody, and the peace you radiate, that will ripple far beyond your lifetime. That is your true legacy. So, let your meditation be your compass. Let it make you rich, rich in wisdom, rich in compassion, rich in the kind of clarity that transforms not only your financial life, but your entire way of being. Because when the heart is steady and the mind is awake, money becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool to serve life, not a master to enslave it. And maybe that is the greatest gift of all, not just financial security, but the freedom to live each day with peace, generosity, and purpose. So remember, your greatest wealth is not in the bank. It is in your awakened mind. And once you touch that treasure, you'll find that every financial decision, every moment of giving, and every breath you take becomes part of a life that is wise, free, and deeply abundant.